You're watching Channel 8's Eyewitness News with Holly Gonzalez and Cor Harlan.
He was a great practitioner of it. He was a genius as a comedian. He had natural instinct for humor that was just brilliant.
Comedian Jackie Mason pays tribute to the comedy genius of George Burns. Tonight, Burns' many fans laid flowers around his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Burns died this morning in Beverly Hills. He was 100 years old.
Expressions of loss for the gravel-voiced cigar-smoking comedian have come from all over the world. But Bob Hope said it best tonight. It was hard to imagine show business before George Burns, and it's hard to imagine it without him.
You can't help getting older, but you don't have to get old.
The life and show business career of George Burns spanned nearly all of the 20th century, but he began entertaining as a boy. Born Nathan Bierbaum in 1896 on New York's Lower East Side, Burns left school after his father died and formed a boy quartet to sing for pennies on the streets. In vaudeville, he fronted a string of specialty acts, but it was Gracie Allen who made his career catch on fire. When they teamed up, Burns became the straight man to her scatterbrained patter.
Could you eat 2 big lamb chops alone?
Alone? Oh, no, not alone. With potatoes, I could.
You could?
Success in showbiz was also success in love, and Burns and Allen were married in 1926. They headed to Hollywood to start a radio show, and by 1950, they were on TV.
Why, what beautiful flowers.
Aren't they lovely? And if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have them.
Me? What did I have to do with
Well,
this?
it was your idea. You said when I went to visit Clara Bagley to take her flowers, so when she wasn't looking, I did.
Gracie died in 1964, and Burns, alone, went on a decade-long downward slide. But movies saved him. He built a new act from scratch and won an Academy Award for his role in The Sunshine Boys.
Ask me knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. Enter! Bedbug. Crazy bedbug.
Then came the highly successful Oh God.
I made Adam 17. Eve was 15, 16 tops. I figured then 16, 17 was middle age, you know. Who knew people would live so long?
Burns and his career seemed reborn, and despite a youth-oriented culture, Burns' old age became a commodity, part of the act.
I'm going to play Caesar's Palace when I'm 100 years old. I hope Caesar's is still there.
Unfortunately, Burns came down with the flu just before his 100th birthday and couldn't attend a huge party held in his honor. He never recovered.
And here's the best part.
He leaves us all with a century of memories and will remain one of Hollywood's most beloved figures.
If you are among the very young at heart.
Caesars honored Burns with a moment of silence before both shows in the Circus Maximus showroom tonight. Executives are working with Burns' longtime friend Phyllis McGuire to hold a memorial service at Caesars sometime next week.
From the CNN Center in Atlanta with the latest headline news, I'm Bob Lozier. A cigar and a smile. That's how many will remember legendary entertainer George Burns. The comedian and actor died Saturday at his Beverly Hills home at the age of 100. Poor health had forced Burns to cut back on his performances in recent years, but his popularity never faltered. Sherry Sylvester looks back at his extraordinary career.
Don't you know that it's worth every treasure on earth to be young at heart? For as rich as you are, it's much better by far to be young at heart.
Never-ending cigars, afternoon naps, bridge with his buddies, and a couple of martinis each day saw George Burns through his 100th birthday. He also credited his longevity to this philosophy.
Fall in love with what you do for a living. I don't care what it is. It works.
He did what he loved for 93 years. He was Nathan Birnbaum when he began playing in the streets of New York in the Pee Wee Quartet. Born into a family of 12 children, he supported them through show business after his father died.
I've been in show business practically all of my life. I've done everything. I played the front of a horse, the back end of a horse. I did a roller skating act. I was a magician, a juggler, a singer, a dancer, a monologist, a straight man. You name it, and I tried it.
He was still in vaudeville when he met Gracie Allen. He took the name George Burns, and the two became a team.
We were what you call a disappointment act. If an act got sick, we take their place. And that went on for about 2 months. Then we took somebody's place in a very good theater, the Bushwick in Brooklyn. That was 2 shows a day, that's the big time. And we did well. And we stayed there. Well, we stayed. Gracie stayed, and I stayed with her.
They married in 1926 and had 2 children. Over the next 4 decades, Burns and Allen would star in radio, television, and film.
Look, nothing. Ace of spades. Nothing. Ace of spades.
Just a minute. 1 minute.
Nothing.
Where are the cards?
Oh, I can't do it with the cards yet.
Gracie was one of a kind. Before I'd work with Gracie, you know, I'd go out on the stage and see which way the wind is blowing, so that the smoke of the cigar didn't go into Gracie's face. Say good night.
Good night.
Then Gracie retired, and I went into show business. I was retired when I worked with Gracie. I did nothing. I said to Gracie, "How's your brother?" And she talked for 40 years.
After Allen's death in 1964, Burns continued in television. Behind the camera, he produced the series Mr. Ed. A 35-year absence from film ended when he stepped into a role in the Sunshine Boys.
It was to replace his best friend in the world, Jack Benny, who died. We had picked Jack Benny to do it. Jack died, and George came in about a month later, and we read with him, and really it was unnecessary because you could tell right away he was great.
My blood circulates. I'm not saying everywhere, but it circulates.
I've been lucky. I'm into pink.
I was looking. For a minute, I thought you were having a hot flush.
The role brought him an Oscar at 80. He played God at 81, picked up a recording contract at 84, and won a Grammy. Then he began writing, 10 books in all. He received an honorary doctorate and stars on the Walk of Fame.
This is my 3rd star. If I get another star, I get to keep the sidewalk.
During the 90s, his 90s, he continued to work at his office every day. He played concert dates until a fall in the bathtub sidelined him. Those who celebrated his 100th say he was energized by work.
Many times, George would be very tired before he went on stage. And they'd play Ain't Misbehavin', which was his entrance music. He'd walk on, get that standing ovation, and suddenly the laughter and the applause would give him energy, and he'd be strong and do the whole show and come off feeling great.
You know, when you walk in the front door of George's house, if you say, "Isn't it a beautiful day?" he says, "What's that got to do with the act?" He doesn't care. He doesn't care. It's the act.
If you asked me to get up to do my act here, I couldn't do it. But in front of an audience, I can. If I didn't exist, God would have had to make me up. I make him look good.
Longtime friend Jan Murray remembers a dinner party at which Burns was asked this question.
Do you believe in the hereafter? Do you believe there's a heaven and a hell? And George, with that twinkle in his eye, with the cigar, looked up at him. He says, "You know," he says, "I don't know what they've got, but I'm bringing my music."
And here's the best part. You better start if you are among the very young. If you are among the very young and